Hello everyone, I'm recording this video a couple of days earlier than usual, and the reason is because I have other fish to fry, so to speak. I won't have the time or the energy to do it later on, and it's a very important space-time moment, this particular Aries full moon. The other reason is because we are after 2-3 days after the UN summit, where things happened and I didn't really read anything on the matter, and I need to talk to you about. Everyone was talking about the war. This is one major topic, but the other major topic, which did not get any mention or very, very few mention in mainstream media, was what happened at the WHO, so the World Health Organization. And they covered the first step. They actually completed the first step of a plan which will mean absolute tyranny for us human beings. You need to know that the World Health Organization was created parallel to the UN. It was the health function of the world, and so far up till now, they were only giving advice. It was not compulsory. It was nothing that they said was really compulsory to anyone, and this is what they are going to change. They will have certain measures that every single person on the planet will have to comply with. Let's take a look at the full moon chart in London, and I gave the title of this particular video, Aries full moon, the full moon of chaos or wisdom. You will see why. And if you want to know what is being cooked at the moment, go to the World Health Organization website and search for PPPT. This is what got signed just a couple of days ago, and IHR, and take a look what's in there, and you will be horrified. So let's take a look instead, because I'm not going to tell you what it is, because read it for yourself. Otherwise, I would do the homework for instead of you, and I want you to be well informed, and I want you to make an intelligent, not guess, but intelligent conclusions maybe, and then act accordingly. Because let me tell you something: if we accept this, then the nation states are giving a huge chunk, actually almost everything of their own actions to this very dark and incompetent organization. Up till the present leader, whose name is Ghebreyesus, and who is not a physician, he is an engineer. Up till now, this organization was very, very harmless. And ever since this guy is there, who was appointed by Bill Gates, of course, and the whole organization is funded mainly by Bill Gates and Big Pharma, and now they are turning into this terror organization. So we need to watch it carefully. Now let's take a look at the London chart, and the full moon occurs at 10:57 a.m. and we have an 11th house sun, so the focus is on group organizations, and well, this is an organization. And I do hear that people in London and in other Western countries are finally waking up, and there are some lawyers who are now trying to do some stuff against this. So hopefully it's not going to happen, or hopefully major countries will move out of this organization. Well, Trump did it, and then Biden, of course, moved the United States back into the World Health Organization. So that was also an interesting thing to watch. That is when I started to pay attention to the WHO. Anyhow, let's take a look at the chart. You have Saturn on the IC, which means we need a stable homeland. We need to hang on to traditions. And traditions is that a nation has its means and its right to do whatever it deems as a good measure for when there is a pandemic. And then the trans-Pluto is on the midheaven, which means that, yes, we can do the dimension jump. Venus-Juno simply represents, in my reading at the moment, so if we read this not as a human chart, but as an event chart, and this is what you see, big money, okay, ruling money, Venus in Leo, and contracts, Juno. And this is exactly what happened. And actually, it's going to square Uranus. So it's our freedom is being taken away by contracts, which are funded by big money. So that's how you can interpret. And then, of course, the Lilith Mars is still there. Actually, they are nearing. It's a doubly applying conjunction to the South Node. So you can still fight against injustice, but with diplomacy, with not very strong means. And at the same time, the North Node Aries conjunction in Aries is also still there. This is one of the main karmic astrological features of this year. So our destiny should be to learn to fight for ourselves, to learn to self-assert, and in drastically altered outward circumstances. And this is what happened. And if you look at these two agreements, proposals, you can download them, they are in PDF format, and read through them, and you will shake your head. They're not going to do this. No, they won't be able to. Well, we are 22 years after the so-called terror attacks, the 9/11 terror attacks. And by the way, that was already organized with the help of ChatGPT and AI technology. It didn't happen the way they showed us, but the whole world believed it, and we were willing to accept certain measures at the airports. Think about this. You are not allowed to bring more than 1 deciliter, I don't know how many fluid ounces it is, on the planes, and we are body scanned and we are searched and blah, blah, blah. Our freedom and our privacy was taken away, and no one actually did anything against it. Why? Because it was only traveling. So who cares? You travel once a year, you can go to the airport an hour earlier, who cares? And you didn't really take a look at this whole thing from another perspective. And the whole generation grew up by learning these measures and accepting these measures. So this is how they do it. They implement something, and then they wait 1 or 2 decades before the whole generation grows up and accepts it already, because it feels natural, because they were born into the measures. This is how the whole thing is, the screw is being tightened around us. Anyhow, so this is what we should learn. Learn to fight for our rights, for ourselves in drastically altered outward circumstances. The descendant is conjunct Jupiter, so we should actually find partners and alliances, and the rest are used to be, we're there in a couple of days earlier. So the West Austria focus on karma breaking. I spoke about the Juno Venus already. And what is really important is the Sun Pallas Athena conjunction, which in the equinox chart was about 5 degrees applying, and now it's almost there. There's another 1 or 2 days before it gets really, really tight. So that is the chart. Those are the chart highlights, or those conjunctions. Let's take a look at the full moon opposition, which is dissolved by Ceres. Ceres in astrology, this was the first asteroid that was spotted. Now it was given dwarf planet status. So actually, in the eyes of the astronomers, okay, Ceres, which is an asteroid with the orbital period of 4 years, and Pluto, which is a Kuiper belt object with an orbital period of 250 years, are the same categories. How dumb is it? Think about it. Anyhow, the fact remains that Ceres is the nurturing principle and also our home, our homeland, our family, the family life. It's relegated now in the 12th house, so it doesn't really have too much in the London chart, but it dissolves the opposition by the sun and the moon. And if you take a look at the transcendental objects linked to this opposition, you have hubris and Dione on the sun, Venus. Hubris is revolt against the wish of gods. And when you revolt against the wish of gods, according to the Greek supposition, you invariably pay for it with your life. So the gods do not allow any kind of straying from what they measured out for you. Think about that. And Dione represents young love, kind of the Romeo and Juliet love. She's Zeus's first lover or first wife, euphemistically. And when Zeus doesn't know yet that he is a chief god, and he falls in love with Dione, and they consummate the marriage, so to speak. So it's in karmic astrology, when Dione is prominent, it suggests that we should actually go back to very basic and very pure emotions. When there's something happening in the world, or someone wants you to do something or accept something, just stay just for a minute and look into it in a while and say if you like it or not. And if you don't, please don't do it. Please don't accept it. And Raifonus, which is a centaur, the story behind it is quite interesting because he's a sprite, a nature sprite, who was selected by Zeus to guard the crib of Heracles. And in order to do it properly, he turns himself into a centaur. So it represents complete transformation for a sacred duty. And this is what we should do. Our sacred duty is to save somehow mankind from this total tyranny that is being concocted for us. And for this, we need to transform properly. And fully. And then on Ceres, you have Demeter and Rhadamanthus. Demeter is just the same as Ceres, but it's the Greek, so the earlier counterpart, but it's the same nurturing principle. And Rhadamanthus was the king of Crete, who restored, after the Minotaur story, restored order. And he was, by the way, the son of Europe and Zeus, Europe in European pronunciation, and he was so just and rightful and such a great leader that he became, Zeus after his death made him one of the judges of the underworld. So that's on Ceres. And if we broaden our perspective and add those planets or celestial objects that are around 21, 23 degrees of the signs, we get an interesting configuration, in the focus of which is Uranus. And Uranus is the planet of chaos and anarchy and freedom. So it means disruptive changes, revolt, but also the very strong freedom urges, and of course flashes of inspiration, and that is the focal point. And the reason why the dilemma is between wisdom and chaos, or wisdom and anarchy, because at the same time, Pallas Athena is on the sun. So we have the tool to be wise and to really justify things in a proper way and against the chaos. Now let's take a look and let's take this apart. So there's a square between Venus, Juno, and Uranus. It's a fixed square. So this liberation is, I would say, necessary. And there's the Mercury-Uranus trine. It's an Earth trine. And of course, Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. So because Mercury is normal communication and Uranus is flashes of inspiration. And then Pallas Athena is the feminine counterpart of Mercury. So you have all those communication planets in the chart. And in the London chart, you have Trans-Pluto, which is another communication planet, the downloading of information from above on the midheaven. So we have the tools to understand what's going on. So then the sun, Pallas Athena, is a sesquiquadrate, and this sesquiquadrate is in quincunx signs because Taurus and Libra are 150 degrees apart of each other. So this means a lot of struggle. There's still struggle to do. And then the Mars Lilith conjunction makes a quincunx to Uranus. And Mars Lilith, again, is about fighting for against something that is not just, that is not right, and liberating ourselves from this unlawful thing. There's this little engine, and little engines combine squares with sextiles and quincunxes. So you have the tension, you have the solution, and you have the karmic interpretation all in one. That is with Uranus, Mars, Lilith, and Venus, Juno. So there is potential to fight against this kind of tyranny that is being concocted for us. There's also a tense triangle, Uranus, Sun, Pallas Athena, and Venus, Juno, indicating that this particular full moon brings a lot of struggle, brings a lot of tension, and it could be dissolved by reconciling chaos or change with wisdom. And there's a little angel wing as well, and at the apex of which is Mercury. So really, this configuration has two focal points. The main focal point is Uranus, and the other one is the top of the angel wing, Mercury, and they are in a trine. So yes, we do have hope. We can actually, there is hope to somehow rectify or come out of this nonsense that is being cooked for us. Anyhow, here are the transcendental objects. And we are going to focus on the ones that we have not touched yet. On Mercury, we have Pan, everything, and Teros. Teros is a centaur who is hunting for bears, but doesn't kill them. He doesn't kill them. He just brings them into his cave and tries to tame them, so to speak. So it's the taming of the instinctual level. And Pan is a wonderful little asteroid because it describes our strength when we have a huge scare, and this is a huge scare that we are in now. And think about it. First, they had the migration crisis here in Europe and also in the United States, but it was not as prominent. And then was the pandemic, and now the war. And now they are already talking about a climate crisis and climate measures, which is ridiculous. Nothing is happening to the climate, nothing. If you go back, if you speak to old people, the climate fluctuated. Yes, climate changes. That's its due, or that's its task. It changes constantly. You can do nothing against it. If they were to reform, for instance, garbage, and say, okay, we should not use as many plastics. But again, they are inconveniencing the little people. The big parcel companies, whenever you order something from Amazon, it's wrapped into plastic. Okay, so they want you not to use the little plastic bags for your groceries, okay, but on the other hand, they wrap everything in plastic. Think about that. It's so dishonest and so really is pathetic. Let's put it this way. Okay. On Venus, so then Pan, sorry, let me close the idea. Pan gives you the strength that whenever there's some huge scare, you can have huge energy and effort to come out of it, because sometimes when there's this scare, it gives you the adrenaline rush that is lifting you out of the situation. That is exactly what we mean, what we need. And with Mercury, we can understand the whole process. On Venus, Juno, so the big pharma liaison to this HWO, you have Merlin, Hecate, Lancelot, and Hammurabi. Merlin, so you have a magician, the dark moon goddess, again, another dark energy, Lancelot, a knight in shining armor, and Hammurabi, again, the low. And then on Mars Lilith, you have Plato, wisdom and philosophy. Hesa, which is Zeta, Virgo. And the whole constellation Virgo is about the dilemma of nurturing by love or nurturing by food. Think of Spica or Spica and Vindamiatrix, the two hands of the maiden. And Hesa is her navel, which is, of course, euphemistically hinting on the reproductive organs. So that is where the seat of pleasures are coming from. And Mars Lilith is there at the moment. And then Uranus has Minerva and Lempo. And Lempo is the Finnish old chief god who used to be the creator god, but in the Christian times he was demonized and turned into this devil figure. It's dark devil figure, devilish figure, and it shows or indicates the fact that each new era has its own gods and actually vilifies the old gods. And at the same time, Minerva is another wisdom goddess. We have Pallas Athena on the sun, which is the Greek version, and Minerva is the Latin, the Roman version of the same concept, of the same goddess energy. And what I want to show you still, if we add to this structure, we add the moon, the full moon opposition, then you will have all sorts of other configurations, but we are not going to look at it just now. We are going to concentrate on this quindecile arrow, which is all these arrow figures are we call them in karmic astrology the arrows of fate. And this one, the quindecile arrow, is the narrowest, so it is the most compact and the most striking energy and the most painful at the same time. The quindecile is 165 degrees. It's easy to spot. If you have solar fire, you can actually create such an aspect. If not, you can see that any opposition point, you just measure 15 degrees either side and you will see if you have it. The orb is only 1.5 degrees. And the quindecile has two meanings: obsession and ambition. So if it's a negative energy, if it turns into something negative, it becomes an obsession. It usually is responsible for obsessive compulsive behavior patterns, but it also gives you ambition. So it gives you the necessary push. And we have such a quindecile arrow now, so it's two quindeciles linked in a semi-sextile, and of course the opposition of the full moon. And you have Mercury, Mars, and Lilith in there. And the whole arrow is pointing to the moon, which is on the cusp of the fifth house. The fifth house is love and our children, our enterprises. That is where the focal point is. And Mars Mercury means fight with words, or learn and understand things with words and act. Of course, this is a Libra Mars, so it's again acting with words or fighting with words. And again, Lilith means against injustice. So that is the quindecile arrow for us. And yes, it's we the people, so it's in our hands. And just to show you the planetarium, we have this Sun Pallas Athena conjunction, which is an applying conjunction. The Sun is at 6 degrees Libra, Pallas Athena is at 7 degrees 11. So it's quite a tight conjunction. It will be exact 2 days later. Again, it's applying. And as you can see, as we are past the autumnal equinox, the Sun is already in the dark circle. It's traveling in the dark circle of the ecliptic. This was the point where the Sun was at the equinox, where the ecliptic and the celestial equator cross each other. And now it's already at -2 degrees 23. And although this is a conjunction, you can see in the longitude, you can also see in the planetarium that Pallas Athena is much higher. So there is an almost 6-degree discrepancy between them, because Pallas Athena is still on the northern hemisphere, above the celestial equator. So this is important for you to remember, that we have a globe, and the 2D chart wheel only shows you one aspect, but you should always be aware where the other so to well, it's like another dimension when you add the declinations and declination positions as well. So we are again at a crossroads, so to speak. You need to be aware what is happening in the world. If this PPPT agreement, which was signed, I want you to know that it was signed during the EU summit, and all the member states of the World Health Organization signed it, and they are going to implement it, which means that we will have a compulsory mandatory, let's put it this way, there will be a mandatory, in the next, when they cook up the next pandemic, there will be a mandatory jab, like injection pushed upon us. I'm sorry. I'm so agitated. You can feel that my voice is breaking up because I am worried. I'm really worried that if they really want to do this with 8 billion people, and if they want to put us into concentration camps for not complying, then we are in trouble. And read the paper, read this agreement, and see it for yourself, and then try to act on your own level. At least tell this to people so that they will be aware what this mandatory injection means and what this passport, this digital passport that they are trying to push up on us means. And stay aware. Did I do? Okay. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.